Iron Maiden, the band that I thought surely must be super evil and scary, has turned out to be not only phenomenal from a musical composition standpoint, but also has amazing lyrics for days that are so much more profound than I could have expected. So your girl's going to keep going down the rabbit hole. I have fallen in and I'm not coming out. So you better run for your lives if you don't want any more Iron Maiden reactions. But I doubt that. I think you're going to want more. I have listened to The Trooper. I've listened to Wasted Years. I have listened to Fear of the Dark. I've done Hallowed Be Thy Name. And then I put out a compilation where I was just giving you insights into my experiences with Iron Maiden. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to listen to The Number of the Beast. Your girl is giving herself shock exposure therapy because this girl, who grew up in a Christian, let me take these off for a second, who grew up in a Christian conservative home, would have not listened to this kind of music. Just the imagery alone would have been like, nah, man, I rebuke this. And then a song called The Number of the Beast would have definitely not been welcome. But I have a feeling that this is not what many people might think it's about at first glance. Just like I experienced when I listened to Hallowed Be Thy Name, I was mind blown at the depths of these lyrics. If you're not subscribed here, by the way, I'm going to start in just a second. 3, 2, 1. If you're not subscribed here, then please do, because we're growing this platform and this community into something really special. If you haven't noticed yet, this is not your typical reaction channel, although you will find a lot of reactions here. This is an educational channel where you will find documentaries, reactions, yes, once in a while a song of my own or a cover, but ultimately a educational channel that means to connect education with entertainment and encouragement, a life-giving place where we explore the world, psychology, philosophy. So don't run for your life. Please subscribe. Don't waste your years. Don't waste another moment. And you like all my Iron Maiden references? Are you proud? Are you proud of me? Let's listen to The Number of the Beast. What is this about? I do not know.
Woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil sends the beast with wrath, because he knows the time is short. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Do you hear this? Woe to the earth. Let him who has ears hear. It sounds like Jesus, quoting Jesus. The number of the beast.
To you, O earth and sea, for the devil sends the beast with wrath, because he knows the time is short. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666.
I left alone, my mind was blank. I needed time to think, to get the memories from my mind. What did I see? Can I believe
That voice?
that what I saw that night was real and not just fantasy? Just what I saw in my old dreams were the reflections of my Walkman staring back at me. 'Cause in my dreams, it's always there, the evil face that twists my mind and brings me to despair.
That was an endlessly long note. He held that for days.
Night was black, was no use holding back, 'cause I just had to see, was someone watching me? In the mist, dark figures move and twist. Was all this for real, or just some kind of hell? 666, the number of the beast. Hell and fire.
this is interesting. I need to pull up these. Hold on. I need to pull up these lyrics, you guys. A lot of religious lingo and, satanic lingo, 666, the number of the beast. Let's just talk just for a split second. For copyright reasons, you came for the commentary, I hope. What I'm loving so far is those riffs and just hardcore shredding on the guitar. His voice, legendary. The lyrics are interesting, and we'll talk about those in a second. But I think that with a lot of their imagery and a lot of their songs, there's that shock effect. A band that were the rebels of the time. And I think when we look at various religions or various anti-religions, for lack of a better word right now, you can often see that it wasn't at the heart to be to be evil or satanic or even to spiritual, but to perhaps question systems and to rebel and for that shock value. In every generation, you have bands like that'll do something that is shock value and different or goes against the norm. And the number 666, real quick, guys, obviously we know this from the Bible, and if Christianity that uses the number 666 as a reference to the beast, directly taken from the book of Revelation, particularly chapter 13, verse 18, where it speaks of the number of the beast. And in its original first century context, it was almost certainly a cryptogram for the Roman Emperor Nero, using gematria, the practice of assigning numerical values to letters. In ancient Greek and Hebrew, letters doubled as numbers, and when Emperor Nero's name and title, Nero Caesar, are translated into Aramaic and calculated using Hebrew numerology, they add up to 666. This allowed early Christians to secretly criticize the oppressive Roman empire without alerting authorities. Ancient Jewish and biblical numerology, the number 7 represented wholeness, perfection, and the divine, and 6 falls 1 digit short, so it's considered this representation of human imperfection. Really fascinating. We'll talk about more of that in just a second. But I want to mention that. I want to throw that in here as we're listening to this, especially for anyone listening that comes from a religious background. Before we're quick to say, oh, this is about the devil and the beast, let's listen and find out what does he really mean. But this is just pure rock.
666, the number of the beast. Sacrifice is going on tonight.
Ooh, did we hear that? A guitar solo. Guys, that guitar, those guitars, that was epic. Were any of you ever at an Iron Maiden concert, by the way? If so, let me know in the comments. What was it like? What was the energy like? That's the key word. The number of the beast, the one for you and me. And what are you and I? Humans. Imperfect, not sevens. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm telling you, Iron Maiden is so much deeper than I would have ever thought. coming back. That's not maybe the New Testament of Jesus returning. But look at that monster behind him. That looks like from the cover, from the album cover.
I will return and not possess your body, and I'll make you burn. I have the fire, I have the force, I have the power to make my evil take its course.
Dang, Iron Maiden. These are musicians. This is rock and roll. From his voice to the epic guitar solos to the drums going bananas. My gosh. My gosh, you guys. A song called The Number of the Beast, constantly talking about 666. And I think it's so exciting. It's fun to open your mind. It's really nice to learn. To me, it's exciting. It takes a lot of courage. Trust me, there's been plenty of years where I felt like I was going through the dark night of the soul because I was asking really hard questions, because it questioned everything that my whole identity was based on. The more you dare to ask questions, the more you dare to listen, to open your mind. And I'm not talking about opening your mind so far that your brains fall out. I'm not talking about everything's relative and you don't stand to your beliefs or wrong or right. There's no wrong or right. But I'm talking about being willing to talk with one another, to ask questions, to consider that maybe we don't have all the answers, and to learn. And I think the whole conversation about the devil, 666, the beast is important because naturally the way I grew up and the way I was raised, my mind would have gone to the devil. And I hear a song about the beast and the number of the beast, and now 666 and the devil and you and me. I'm like, I rebuke that. No, thank you. And now as you read about some of this origin, even of the number 666, and of, you look at the etymology of a word and the context and the historical, cultural context, meaning, numbers, values, letters, it changes how we look at things. And as I mentioned, it was a reference for Emperor Nero. It also is interesting to note, as mentioned before, that it's a symbol for imperfection. There's an Old Testament connection too. Some scholars point that 666 appears directly in the Old Testament as the specific amount of gold, 666 talents, that King Solomon collected annually as the absolute height of his wealth and power. And this vast accumulation of earthly wealth marked the beginning of his spiritual decline. There's a verse in the Bible that says, what is it worth a man to gain the whole world and to lose his soul? And with Solomon, you have this king, this man who asked for wisdom. God granted it according to the scriptures, and he was the wisest man on all the earth. And eventually, he experienced spiritual decline. He had all the women and all the wealth, and it still led to his demise. So one could argue or interpret perhaps that 666 is being turned or was turned into a pre-biblical symbol of worldly greed and spiritual corruption. Then, of course, we look at ancient pagan and Babylonian superstition. Occasionally debated, there is no hard historical evidence that ancient pagans viewed 666 as universally evil or demonic, a demonic number prior to the book of Revelation. In ancient Mesopotamia, multiples of 6 were foundational to the base of the 60 numerical system used for measuring time and geometry. And some 6-based configurations were associated with the sun god and divine order. And then today, of course, it carries strong negative stigmas. However, in Chinese culture, the number 666 is highly auspicious because the spoken word for 6 sounds similar to the word for smooth and flowing, and it represents good fortune, luck, and smooth business transaction. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it fascinating how in one language, auspicious meaning having a positive and successful future, promising interpretation. Isn't it fascinating that it depends on, first of all, what part of the world you ask this question, what language and the etymology thereof of a word you look into, and that it also is important that we go as far back as we possibly can, not only looking at it through modern day, not even only looking at it through the lens of the New Testament, which was birthed in a very Greek time, not even only looking at it through the lens of the Old Testament and the Tanakh and ancient Judaism, but going back as far as possible and being willing to look at all of it. So what is Iron Maiden trying to say here then? The number of the beast. Are they talking about the devil? They sure have the devil and all these monsters and creatures roaming around. As I'm learning about Iron Maiden, a lot of it is for show, for shock value. A band that is hardcore into the rock and roll, that is trying to go against the flow, provoke, rebel, question the system, and will get that effect when they have scary imagery on their album covers and crazy monsters on stage. But there was so much symbolism in it, even just the fact that this man and woman are spinning around dancing as if doing a competition in a ballroom dance, and her face switches to the beast. Is this a nod to Adam and Eve and the woman being the first one to corrupt and take the fruit and turning into the monster? I think that's kind of far-fetched, but it's interesting to see how you have people that are becoming the monster at the very end. And I think that is a nod to what this song is trying to say, that perhaps it is you and me. Woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil sends the beast with wrath. We have very biblically sounding language here. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. Very biblical language. Let him who has ears hear what Jesus said. Right? Woe to you. We hear that all throughout Scripture, Old and New Testament. For it's a human number. Its number is 666, a human number. And yes, the numbers are human. We have designed the mathematical system and structure. And yet I think there's a double entendre here by calling it the human number, because not only is it a number made by humans, it also signifies humanity. Maybe not a supernatural spiritual creature somewhere in the invisible realm, but humans. I left alone. My mind was blank. I needed time to think, to get the memories from my mind. What did I see? Can I believe that what I saw that night was real and not just fantasy? Questioning your own mind, your own sanity. Is this a conversation about mental health and being in turmoil with yourself? Is this under the influence of some type of substance and trying to find freedom? When we talk about a mind being blank, needing time to think, it makes me also think of time for prayer and meditation, where we're trying to get clarity. And then the things that enter our mind sometimes have us wondering, is this real or not? The things that I heard, was that God's voice? Was that an answer to prayer? Are the things we think and feel and the way we look at the world real, or are they fantasy? Just what I saw in my old dreams, were they reflections of my warped mind staring back at me? Because in my dreams, it's always there, the evil face that twists my mind and brings me to despair. I see a person here. Again, very well could be a conversation about inner turmoil, mental health, etc. But I also see a person who is at war, which I think is a conversation as old as time, within themselves. On a micro level, I think on a micro level, we have that individually, where we try to understand who we are. Am I good? Am I bad? We are trying to figure out, what is that voice in my mind? Where do these thoughts come from? My lust, my jealousy, my greed, my anger. On a macro level, we have it as a society where we try to understand where is good and evil. The idea of a devil in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament, there wasn't even much conversation about a devil. There was a reference to Satan, like in the book of Job, and that word actually meant adversary, not some not some pickaxe, horn holding devil creature, but an adversary, an opponent to God, who couldn't even do anything to Job without God giving him permission to do so. So, of course, we could have endless theological debates about what is the devil even? What does that symbolize? Where does all of this come from? Can we talk about Greek mythology and other influences at the time that may have informed how New Testament scriptures were developed and how they were interpreted? Can we talk about church history, Roman Catholicism, and others that have shaped the messages that were passed on from the pulpit for people to have a certain image about the devil and about what evil is and where it comes from? But we've come to a point, many, religious or not, where I think a lot of times we look outside and we say evil must be this or must be that. This person is evil and this thing is evil and this is the devil and these are demons. And I think the answers are often harder to come by than we would like. So we have a ton of questions, but the answers are hard to come by. And here I see a human conversation. Sorry, I had a hair in my face. I'm like, what? We have a human conversation here that's asking questions, trying to get clarity, trying to find peace of mind, time to think. That's a human need. I want to make sense of this world. And now we're finding these old dreams reoccurring. Old dreams that you have as a child, the nightmares. That's kind of when it starts. Nightmares as a kid, or night terrors if it's really bad. Is it my warped mind? Where do these things, these images come from? That we picture scary stuff, that we're drawn to horror movies, that we picture monsters under the bed. From early on, is my mind warped? In my dreams, it's always there, the evil face that twists my mind and brings me to despair. And I think these lyrics could be taken in different ways. A conversation starter about mental health, about inner turmoil. A conversation about spirituality and theology, right? Is there a devil? Are there demons? Where do these voices come from that torment us? Is it just human nature? To put it in Michael Jackson's words, right? Is it just human nature that we have two sides to ourselves? In the night, the fires are burning bright. The ritual has begun. Satan's work is done. Very satanic lingo. Terrifying at first. But the reason why I'm wondering if this is not so much, on the surface level, maybe just a song meant to provoke and to sound scary. On a deeper level, not a song that I think is trying to be satanic or saying, yes, the devil is real, let's all worship him. But I think perhaps a double entendre, a poetic rebel piece of the time to bring awareness to the forces that are at play that may be more human than we are willing to acknowledge. This can't go on. I must inform the law. What, the police perhaps? Can this still be real or just some crazy dream? What's happening here? This chanting, these people hanging out, dancing around the fire, their hands lifted to the sky. I gotta call someone. But I feel drawn towards the chanting hordes, seem to mesmerize, can't avoid their eyes. We're talking about calling the law on perhaps this weird cult that's hanging out with their torches ablaze. The reason why I think this is not just some song that's celebrating or shedding light on Satanism or some type of cult, but perhaps on human behavior. Because the reason why I think that is because it goes from the number of the beast, which is what it's often known for, that number of superstition, to the number for you and me, a human number. Perhaps all of this is a conversation about human behavior. Because in the beginning, we have the religious conversation about someone that's warning us as if God or a prophet or someone speaking from the outside in. And then we have a person in first person singular looking within themselves, asking, I'm trying to find some peace. I need some time to think. My mind was blank. To get the memories from my mind, I'm trying to let go of things in the past. I'm returning to these old dreams. Is any of this real? To now talking about people coming together to be lifting their hands. Some crazy dream towards the chanting horde. We went from an individual internal turmoil to an external disarray. Very human experiences, both when we look at people that struggle with their mental health, as well as when we look at religion and various groups, cults, and organizations that come together. But why is he talking about I must inform the law? Also fitting lingo, because the law and Bible and Old Testament and Tanakh, but also the law as in the police. I got to call somebody. And then in the end, it says, I'm coming back. I will return. Now, this is where it gets creepy, because that could be a reference to Jesus coming back, the second coming, or perhaps Satan here saying, I'm going to come back. I'll possess your body. I'll make you burn. I have the fire. I have the force. I have the power to make my evil take its course. Very evil lyrics. Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast tells the story of a terrifying nightmare about stumbling upon a dark, occult ritual in the woods. The song is not a celebration of devil worship. Rather, it serves as a narrative about confronting supernatural evil and questioning the boundaries of reality. And I read that the bassist and songwriter Steve Harris wrote the lyrics after waking up from a disturbing nightmare induced by watching the 1978 horror movie Damien Omen 2. The lyrics were also heavily influenced by Robert Burns' classic 18th century poem, which features a terrified man witnessing a demonic gathering in a forest. The introduction are biblical references to Revelation 12:12, where it says, Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath. And Revelations 13, chapter 13, verse 18, Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it's the number of a man, and his number is 666. It is said that the chorus, 666, the number of the beast, centers on the Antichrist. The lyrics reflect a dark battle where the narrator feels physically and mentally drained. Controversy is that because of the dark imagery and the 666 reference in the chorus, various religious groups in the 1980s branded Iron Maiden branded the band as Satanists. However, the band has always maintained that the song is purely a work of fiction. Steve Harris frequently expressed frustration that critics jump to conclusions without actually reading the lyrics, which clearly paint the devil as the antagonist rather than an entity the band worshipped. And I have to agree with that. Nowhere in these lyrics do I see a worship of the devil or condoning some type of weird sacrifice and occult, but rather a warning thereof. Rather saying, is this real or not? This is scary. I think I got to inform the law. Somewhere I read that maybe it also said inform the Lord. But I definitely think that this song is not meant to condone that and say, let's do crazy stuff, but actually warning from it. And I think that there's a time and place where we talk about these fictional things in art anyways, but not only for the sake of art and entertainment, but also because I think it can open the door for us to talk about what is real, what is not? Where do some of these mythologies and these feelings and these things come from? What are people's personal experiences? Where does this desire come from for us to understand where evil and good comes from, to personify evil and righteousness? Who do we want to be? You know, how much does this also a conversation about the number of being a human, the human number, and what kind of human are you going to be? Because if we're not cautious, we can become that beast. Ironically, a lot of people that are quick to judge and jump to conclusions if they're not cautious, can, in their judgment and hate, can become like that woman that turned into the monster, can become that monster. I'm assuming in that music video, some of that footage was from the movie, that horror movie that he watched that inspired his nightmare. But I think that these kinds of songs, fiction or not, poetry or not, can become pieces that allow us to really ask questions, to open a conversation to these topics. What are your thoughts on this? An epic piece, heavy lyrics, not easy to listen to, I'll say, but very interesting to learn more about the meaning behind the number and about the controversy and how it makes people feel. How does it make you feel? Especially those of you who have a religious background or who are religious. Do you feel comfortable to listen to it? Why or why not? And for those of you who are not religious or of the no faith particularly, what do you feel? What do you think of when you listen to this? Is it just a piece of entertainment? It's fiction? It's nothing? Or do you draw any meaning from it? Subscribe, talk to me in the comments, and I'll see you on the next ride. Ayo!